Welcome, foolish mortals, to the Haunted Podcast. I am your host, your ghost host, Eric, and I am joined with my ghouls and other friends. Across the table is Ashley.
Hello.
And to my left is Jeremy. So, if you can't tell already, since it's kind of spooky season, we wanted to do a special Halloween edition of retro games, video games, and nostalgia. So, this should be a really fun and interesting one, talking about a lot of the horror games and scary games we played throughout the years.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, possibly my favorite genre of games. Is that crazy to say?
I think it's probably one of my favorite genres too.
In general,
honestly.
I think it's very popular in the video game, in the video game dimensions. So
Maybe just like the most unique to me.
It
and
is.
the most like impactful. Like I've had the biggest experiences with horror games for sure.
yeah,
Well, it's more immersive because like it really makes
Oh,
you
yeah.
you feel it. Like
Oh, yeah.
the fear.
You feel like the character. It's crazy sometimes.
and I feel like the horror game or the horror genre in general is just getting better and better in video games because they're getting way more immersive to the point of like. We'll touch on it too about indie games like Phasmophobia, where literally like putting a headset on, you can literally hear just like.
Oh, VR
Yeah.
itself.
It's like, whoa.
Crazy. Like that changes the game completely. The more senses they bring into it, the
Yeah,
more real it
literally
gets.
chills down your spine.
Well,
type of
what's
stuff.
the game that you guys play? Phasmophobia.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Phasmophobia is phenomenal. Like you're a ghost hunter going through everything. We'll get into that stuff later, but let's go back to like, what's the earliest games that we, kind of associate with the horror genre?
I'm trying to think of the first horror games. Well, I know this isn't considered like a horror game, but Super Metroid used to scare me when I was because the very
Just
beginning.
the ambiance.
Well,
yeah,
that, but
it was
you're
very kind of mysterious.
well
and
when you're trying to
foreboding.
escape the space station at the very beginning, and it's the music,
Yeah.
and it like freaked me out because you're like, oh my god, I gotta get out of here.
It's chilling. Yeah.
And it's
You're on an alien world.
Yeah.
You don't know anything.
but
yeah.
that was the first game that really like quote unquote scared me.
But Jeremy hit on that right. Yeah, the ambiance of that game definitely has more of like a mysterious foreboding setting.
like- maybe the biggest factor in those games for me. Like if it nails the ambiance, even if like the monster is kind of lame, like if I'm in the atmosphere, it's doing
it's
something.
more immersive.
Yeah.
So, and that's an excellent one to start from. So, I remember going over to Sean's house and playing, I think it was Super Metroid. And that whole feel is just like, oh my gosh, this is a whole different type of game.
Yeah, you guys have more mileage than me with like older games like that.
Yep.
I like had a weird shift from being too scared to play any horror games, and then like 2013, 2014, it just switched and like
It's
I
something
was
you
kind
were
of
into.
obsessed.
Well, I remember for a while you were scared from like a bunch of different TV shows. Like ones that traumatized us in the past was what Are You Afraid of the Dark? Should have never been aired. It was way too traumatic, even for like our generation.
I loved that show though.
It was good.
scary though.
But Tales of Laughing in the Dark with Zebo, freaky. But going back to video games and everything, like we ended up going into the PlayStation genre where I think that's really where a lot of horror games really kind of came into form because there was Resident Evil and Silent Hill, especially, or the quintessential horror games people refer to.
Silent Hill is probably my favorite horror game series.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you ever played Silent Hill, Jeremy?
No, I've seen a couple Let's Plays of like the first one or two, maybe.
So
Like the fog and everything. And
I said this in another episode, but Silent Hill 2 is probably one of the best games ever made,
wow.
in my opinion.
And it's based off of an actual place, isn't it? Centralia, Pennsylvania.
That's where they got the inspiration for the town.
With the underground mine fires
Yeah.
that the whole town had to evacuate because there were
heard of this.
sinkholes. Yeah. Oof. It was wild.
Well, like in the game, it's like visually freaky, but it's like it's definitely a
everything-
psychological
Yeah.
horror game because like all the monsters in the game are essentially from one of the characters' subconscious that like come to life.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really freaky, but it's so good.
And the whole town's just like covered in this weird mystic fog, right?
Well,
As
then
you're
and then when
walking around.
things switch, like the thing switches, like the town goes from like foggy to like it switches into like the alternate reality, and
Whoa.
like some of the walls are like made of skin and blood and stuff. It's really freaky.
Yikes. And it like goes back and forth between.
It goes back and forth. Yeah,
Yeah, there's all kinds of
1, 2, and
freakiness.
3 are the best in
Yep.
my opinion. Those are the best 3.
We've gone back and played 2, I think, a few times. I don't know if I ever played the first one.
Oh, the remaster
Yeah.
is out.
Now,
I think it's out now.
Silent Hill is famous for, is it Pyramid Head?
Pyramid Head.
Pyramid Head is like a big, it's like a giant guy with a big pyramid looking
The
thing.
baddie. Yeah.
Yeah. And you watch her with a big sword just dragging behind him. Really kind of freaky.
Is that sort of the main monster in those games?
That was in Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, funny enough, Silent Hill 2 isn't part of the main storyline. It goes silent. Like, the main story is 1. 2 is a completely different storyline, kind of, and then 3 goes back to like the first one.
So they kind of flop around a little bit.
Kind of, sort of.
Yeah. That's typical in video game genres too. They'll kind of go back, like a Tomb Raider. Like how many times they go back and forth.
Oh, I
now
know.
we got prequels. Now we got like, way in the past or way in the future.
Is it the same main character, or are they different stories?
Different, I thought.
Different. I haven't played the later ones, but the earlier ones, they're different characters. You find out some of them are related, but they're different.
Okay, they're all in Pennsylvania though.
No, technically though, it's based in Pennsylvania, but I think it takes place in California.
Oh, okay.
But they base
It's like
the
a
town.
mountainous town type of thing. Just like, kind of like,
Well, there's
abandoned?
Toluca Lake in Silent Hill, which if you look up Toluca Lake, it's like out west somewhere.
Oh, that's real.
So they take inspirations from different areas of our country. And it's made in Japan. So
Yeah.
Nice.
they got a fascination for us over here.
And speaking of Pennsylvania, I do have an audiobook recommendation for you. This one is Greater Than a Tourist, P.A. Wilds, by author Karen Bell, and narrated by me, Eric Brown. Now available on Audible. Definitely check it out sometime. And we're back to the pod.
Segueing from that into Resident Evil, I never really played the Resident Evil games that much. I know a lot of my friends did and everything, but that's based on a virus from the Umbrella
The
Corporation.
T virus.
Yeah, that basically got out and started infecting, and that's where the whole zombie genre, I think, really kind of like really took hold.
Definitely helped popularize it in like that weird surge in
Oh, yeah.
zombie everything in
Like,
like
everybody
the
was
2010s.
obsessed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dead Rising was another game where it was
I
just
mean-
a monotonous zombie killing.
Yeah, and The Walking Dead. And
Yeah,
like,
the whole TV
I don't know,
series
so
that
many
shot off from it.
things. Yeah.
The Flood from Halo.
Yeah, that's true.
Halo could
Probably,
even
yeah.
be considered kind of horror genre a little bit from that perspective.
Halo 1.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah, you could be, especially
You
the
could-
Flood, because you're like, what the hell
Oh
is
yeah,
going
that part
on?
with the flood. When I played it for the first time, like, what
Dude,
the hell?
The original
is
Flood theme, they're like, dun, 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 dun. It's
right?
like,
It's just like, what the
straight out
heck
of a
is
horror
going on?
movie, yeah.
Yeah, it felt like one because you're
It,
like, what is
like-
going on?
it hits those beats of like fear of the unknown, like unpredictability, like what is this monster we know nothing about?
Yeah.
Fear of the unknown. You're just like, what's happening? What's happening? Things are happening around me.
because
Like,
you're fighting the Covenant the whole game, and then whoa, there's a
Yeah.
second thing. What's
massive
this?
shift. We're like, what is this? That both not only is your enemy just like running away from, but your allies are running away from. You're like, what? There's something worse than what we've been fighting. What?
Yeah, that was like that. Wow, that might have just shifted Halo 1 into like my favorite Halo game.
Yeah.
I totally forgot about that.
Yeah, it definitely set a whole different tone for the whole game. Because like right in the middle too, you're like, what the?
Well, a few months ago, like I've never actually played all the Halo games, even though I've watched you play them a gajillion times.
Yeah.
But we starting with Halo 1, playing through for the first time. And you kept telling me, like, oh yeah, wait for this part with the flood. And I was like, this is scary.
Yeah, it turned on its head.
It's really good. Like, I don't know, kind of told maybe a better story than any of the other games, I think. Yeah.
Well, that's why Sean kind of touched on this point too. That Halo 4 didn't feel like a Halo because there was no flood. All the modern Halos
I would
don't
agree.
have flood.
Halo 4 didn't feel like a Halo
Yeah,
game to me.
it's different.
To me, it lacked the like weird like religious overtones of like the Covenant and
Yep.
the prophets and yada yada.
Well, I feel like it lost the mystique because Halo's
Yeah.
about the mystery of everything. It's like it's the scale of it's so large, and you're less like, oh my gosh, what does this mean? What does that mean? And they uncovered a lot of this stuff. And now that the Forerunners are kind of like out,
Well, now that then there's like the Prometheans. It's like, what the heck
Yeah,
are these
it-
things?
it like renders
the mystery is
story.
suddenly revealed.
Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's lost that mystique a little bit. So I think it kind of took away from what Halo was.
yeah, if you answer all the questions, then I don't know, what are you really doing?
Exactly. And then Destiny, going off of that one, I mean, it kind of has a little bit of like it's
There's a little
some scary I love the little
Scary.
jack-o'-lante thing for Halloween. That's fantastic.
Oh,
The
yeah.
Three-eyed pumpkin.
the pumpkin thing. I had that.
And then going into
Excuse
Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 era of horror games.
Yeah, we mentioned upstairs. You played Prey. I remember watching you play that.
Yeah,
years
Prey was
ago.
kind of freaky. So you basically play as like a Native American descendant.
and like aliens and
yeah, aliens invade and take his girlfriend or something. I'm like,
Hey, don't
what?
you get abducted? Don't you get abducted by aliens in that
You
game?
do. And then there's this weird mini game. Anytime your character dies, he has like a bow and arrow and he's like shooting spirits to get like life essence back.
Wow, I remember this. Yeah,
Yeah, it was really weird. And then they remade Prey. Plays completely different compared to the old one on the Xbox 360. So I've not played the new one, but it looks interesting. But yeah, that was a freaky game. Very
Dude,
dark.
I don't have a segue to this, but I remember I get really into indie horror games, and in the Xbox 360 sort of era, I remember playing Limbo for the first time.
What's that?
That like side-scrolling 2D.
I faintly remember seeing ads
Like
for that one.
it's just black and white.
Yeah.
And you're this like shadow character going through this like creepy like nature world, and like it's like a like society is falling apart, and you're like climbing over these like decrepit cityscapes and fleeing from like giant spiders and stuff. It's like on a very human scale, which makes it even creepier because you're this little like shadow boy. You don't know where you come from. You don't know where you're going. You're just trying to survive.
Oh, I remember seeing videos about that. Yeah, I remember. Okay.
It was like a smash hit at the time. That probably turned my brain from like, oh, horror games are scary and bad into like, whoa, this atmosphere and experience is like really enjoyable.
Differently, and immersive.
Oh, speaking of indie horror games, we watched Markiplier play it. Oh my god, it was an indie game about that girl who I think she was in the psych ward and she was taking all those pills and they made her see a bunch of crazy stuff.
Fran Bow.
That
was messed up.
Yeah, that was yikes.
It's so good.
Holy crap.
It's such
really
a good
gory.
game. But it was so freaky. But I was like, I love this game.
My jaw could not go through the floor faster through all the like every subsequent episode Markiplier played. I'm like, this game can't get any more. Oh my god, it got more ridiculous. Oh my god, it got even more ridiculous.
I was like so absorbed into it. I'm like, it was so because she would take the pills and it would
like
make her,
Alice in Wonderland
yeah,
sort of fantasy.
It would like, or if she didn't take the pills, she would see things. I can't remember exactly, but
like you didn't know if like reality or the fantasy was more horrifying.
Yeah.
Ugh, I remember watching that.
That was such a good one.
That was that game was freaky. There's another indie game I just remembered too. Do you remember this game? Contrast. About this lady or this little girl that had like a lady figment of her imagination, and she could travel as an interesting game mechanic on shadows. So like as you're side scrolling around the world, you could basically go to this lady and she would just like warp into a shadow form and walk on light across beams and stuff. It was really interesting.
Bear in the Big Blue House did it first, but go on.
Exactly. Another AAA title game I thought was kind of had like a horror foreboding feeling. BioShock.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, that is kind of a scary game.
That's in my pantheon for sure. Mm-hmm. Talk about atmosphere. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nothing more immersive than that.
And be like just being in an underwater city that's like basically falling apart.
Claustrophobic, politically unsettling. Society is falling apart.
Right, and you're underwater.
Yeah.
And literally the things like falling apart, like cracks are happening.
Everyone's trying to kill you.
Yeah, this giant like Big
and
Daddy.
The like isolation of it too. Like meeting another person was a bad thing. Mm-hmm. Like you were safer on your own.
And you find out that you've basically been brainwashed through the whole process of everything. Would you kindly?
Would you kindly?
Man, first learning that plot twist was like, whoa, bro.
That was such a well thought out storyline. I'm just like, oh my god. And it sucks that like I feel like there's so little games that come close to that type of narrative.
Yeah.
Especially anymore.
I don't know. I could go on a soapbox about this, but I feel like games aren't given as much like narrative attention. They're given more like visual attention.
Yeah.
Look at Halo. It's definitely what's happened with Halo. It's just like not the same.
Yeah. It's become like ad driven, like the point is to sell games now instead of like tell a good story.
And multiple season passes, microtransactions, and just like they sell uncompleted products is what happens now, and it stinks.
Yeah. Like that belongs in the indie genre, like releasing games in alpha to be able to make the game.
Yep.
Like they need money.
Subnautica. Which,
exactly.
Could you consider Subnautica kind of horror in a way?
It has scary moments for sure.
Yeah, like when you're going down into like the depths and you run into like
that
a
Reaper
Leviathan out of nowhere, and you're like, oh,
horror adjacent at least.
Well, you made me think of this when you said like about the isolation, and I know Tomb Raider is not considered a horror game.
It could
be
though.
There are moments in that game. I mean, think about it. You are literally alone in a tomb, like an ancient tomb. Literally, you're completely alone. And, especially in the first couple games, like the sound effects and the music are really creepy. And you never know what's going to attack you.
Right.
I mean, literally, like in the first Tomb Raider game, like literally you're alone in tombs, like especially in Atlantis. And there's these genetically engineered monsters that are like around the corner. You never know where they're going to be.
Yeah, they jump out. Especially the Atlanteans, I think at the end of that first game, I was just like, what the
That's
heck?
what the genetically engineered Atlantean monsters.
Freaky.
So yeah, I mean that is scary.
I can hear James listening to the podcast right now saying, "Please remember Dino Crisis." That's like
Dino Crisis, yeah.
Yeah, where basically like you turn around, there's like a velociraptor chasing after you. Like, oh my god!
Nice.
Okay, I'm going down another nostalgic rabbit hole. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what this pod's for.
So the game I was talking about before we started this was Parasite Eve.
Now, was that horror based at all?
I would say it's like Resident Evil. You say you don't remember it.
I've somehow never heard of this. This is a
big
game?
It came out, the PS1.
Okay.
So it would have come out probably, I think it came out like the late 90s. But it's essentially like, the game starts off, it's really weird, like you're at an opera, there's this opera singer, and then all of a sudden everybody starts like spontaneously combusting.
Whoa, what the?
And like there's a scene with these rats that start mutating, and their little snoots start like opening like this instead of like this. It's really weird.
Yikes.
And like their skin starts peeling away.
And what generation of video games is this? Was this PlayStation?
PlayStation.
Oh my god.
But it's basically like this monster lady can control your mitochondria, and it like makes you explode and like turn into monsters.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So basically overhaul from My Hero Academia.
Kind of.
Yeah. It basically, force you to self-combust.
But like I feel like nobody remembers that game except me.
Where's the... or the... There we go.
Possible spoilers ahead, but what are the beats of that game? Like, you have to find and discover this lady and like put an end to it, or
you have to like, it's been so long since I played it, but yeah, like the opera singer in the beginning is the enemy.
Oh, it's
so
her.
She's the enemy, and like she starts like mutating, and she's the one who made all the people in the concert like explode. But your character is the only one who's not spontaneously combusting.
Interesting.
Damn, cool.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
I've heard of that game, never played it though.
I used to rent that from Roadrunner Video all the time.
I remember a lot of the old, like, I know we're going back and forth. That's what we do on this pod. Going way back to the 90s, I remember playing the point-and-click, like, mystery games. They would tend to have horror themes. One in particular I used to play all the time by Sierra Games was Shivers.
Oh
that
my God.
game was great.
I haven't thought about that in years, man.
Yeah. It plays a lot like Myst, where it's kind of like a mystery. You have to go around and, like, find these
Myst.
vessels.
Myst is so good.
Yeah. And basically, I think you could buy, on GOG.com, I think has it. So, GOG.
Is Myst the one where you're going through the museum?
Yep.
Okay.
It's the one that, and you have to go find all this stuff for Professor Windlenot.
There's like Akinar and the other guy that I can't remember the name
But
of.
don't you have to find like the vessels or
you have
something?
to find the vessels and like the spirits of the people that were like killed by the Istari or something like that.
Yeah.
Or it's some type of like South American spirits or something like that. Or elemental spirits that basically have escaped these vessels.
Oh wait, you're talking about Shivers.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
what's-
talking about Myst.
I was
my
talking
bad.
about Myst. I was confused.
Myst
Wait.
is the red and blue books.
Myst is
on
red
the
and blue
island.
books. Yes.
Okay, Shivers is the one where you're...
You're
pottery.
finding the little little spirits from South America. But yeah,
Okay.
Myst is about helping out these two guys in the blue and red books. And I think, spoiler alert, I think they both betray you in the end.
Yep.
You have to actually help out the white book.
The answers to like help the dad of these two brothers instead.
Yeah, they've been trapped in there for a reason.
I feel like that game's been out long enough that we don't have to put a spoiler alert on
Right.
it.
Yeah.
If you haven't played it at this point, that's on you.
Right.
Yeah, if you help either of the brothers, they imprison you in the bookshelf.
Yep,
It's
exactly.
like, whoa.
They escape.
Yeah.
So Myst is
Got 'em.
a lot more involved, I feel like. And then there's like different sequels that spun off from Myst as well.
I've never played any of the sequels, but
Riven, sequel to Myst.
I've heard Riven's good, but the ones past that I can't say much about.
Yeah. But those old point and click games, they could be interesting and kind of scary. Like I think there was a Titanic game.
Oh, what?
Yeah. Sean talked about that one a little bit. It was like a Titanic. You're supposed to do like a murder mystery before the Titanic sinks.
Oh, yeah.
It's wild. Don't know the total title of that one, but it was interesting.
The Riddle of the Sphinx is the point and click game I
There's
used to
another
play.
one.
I've heard that.
It's
Okay.
kind of it's not like overly scary, but it's definitely it's kind of creepy.
They remastered that one too.
It's more suspenseful, I think, than
Yeah.
scary.
But that's the big thing. But that still kind of like falls along the line, a little bit more like
Yeah.
horror, suspense type of genre. So
Eric, kind of bouncing back to Shivers for a second.
Oh, yeah.
I remember being so scared of that when
It
I was
was
like real
freaky.
little. Like I would watch you play out of like the corner of my eye, and I'd have to like leave the room. I think it'd be like pretty cool to revisit it as like a 20-something-year-old and
Yeah.
like face my fears as a kid or whatever.
honestly, as you go back as an adult, you realize, okay, this stuff really
It's
wasn't
probably
as
silly,
scary.
yeah.
Like, yeah, there's games like, I was afraid of this.
Exactly.
Really?
Just like, this used to scare the crap out of me or traumatize me as a kid. But honestly, that's
Yeah.
what do they call that? Exposure. That's actually a therapeutic thing to help get over your fears from, like, some type of traumatic event, whether in your childhood or in your past.
There's something about, like, kid brain and, like, the fantasies you can conjure that just, like, it makes scary stuff so much scarier.
It does. Well, the mind, they kind of allude this to I think it's BioShock Infinite. They said the mind will seek to fill something that really wasn't there. So it'll just, the kid's brain will obviously just kind of like wander around and figure out like, okay, well, this is really what happened, but really it's like some type of illusion. So it's interesting.
We were talking about indie games.
This is jumping to more recent, so I'm sorry for the
that's the whole point of this thing. We go back and forth.
Ash and I watched it, no, we haven't played this yet. We just watched a playthrough. It was this really cool crossover. It's a farming game meets horror game.
What?
So
oh my god!
You farm by day.
Stardew Valley meets like Layers of Fear.
Yeah, pretty much. By day you farm and it's like happy-go-lucky, yay,
then
fun
Slender
music.
Man comes in.
And then at night it's like kind of hell. Like there's these beasts running around, and like if you don't get home quick enough, they'll just like eat you.
Oh wait, I think I've seen that on. I think I saw a TikTok about that game.
Yeah, you're like a little pumpkin head person.
Yeah, I think I have seen videos
just
about
like the shift from happy farm game to horror game is
you're being
really
hunted
good.
by the group smashing pumpkins. They try to smash the pumpkin head.
Nice.
But going back to, like you said, indie games and everything, Slender Man was huge for its time.
Oh man, Slender Man.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Markiplier really made that kind of like super popular,
Dude,
right?
With Slender Man, I remember this was like when it first came out. I think my buddy had this really shitty little PC setup. It was like it was a laptop, but it was like an inch thick, and we would play it together and get like so scared, like, oh man, we almost got all the pages.
Slender Man like caused so much. I mean, it was like really popular.
We would go play Slender Man in the woods. We would like write notes on trees and stuff.
Oh god,
okay,
it was creepy.
That would freak the crap out of me.
I'm gonna go true crime here for a minute. So did you hear about with Slender Man the two girls who plotted to kill their friend?
Oh, yeah.
What?
To please Slender Man? You didn't hear about that?
Oh yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah,
one.
they were like these like 13, 14-year-old girls, and they literally planned this girl's murder because they wanted to please Slender Man, and the girl survived.
Oh my god.
Yikes.
Yeah, the two. I think both of the girls are like going to be in prison for the rest of their lives. But,
Yeah, as they should. My god.
PSA: keep an eye on your kids.
Yeah.
Right? It's like real life Blair Witch
Don't let
Project.
your kids play Slender Man.
Yeah.
Freaky.
But yeah, that happened, and yeah, I mean, she nearly died. I mean, I think they like stabbed her like 14 or something times like that. Yeah, they literally lured her into the woods,
That's
and they tried to
Yikes.
to appease
Just check on the games your kids are playing every now and again.
or make sure your kids okay enough to
right
handle it.
of sound mind in order to play these type of games.
There you go.
I mean, I can't tell you how many games I played as a kid that were probably rated way older than I was.
Oh
I
yeah,
was.
that's everybody. I feel like eventually you'll come across a game you're like, whoa, holy crap! And usually it's the stuff that you're forbade from playing. You're just like, ooh, it's taboo. It's interesting.
Yeah, so you want to play it more.
Yeah. I can't imagine mom and dad approving of Shivers even back then.
Yeah.
Oh God, no.
How did you have that?
Mark, my friend Mark,
really?
we'd go over to his house and play all that stuff. His dad really wouldn't care, so he would have. I mean, Mark had a PlayStation. I didn't because we didn't have good video games growing up for me. So we would go over there and we would play horror games. He loved the horror genre, so he loved this talk we're having now. But we used to go out and play. We lived out in the country with like a big pine tree forest in the backyard. Play pine tree tag, and you literally just have like the light of the moon, and like you'd be running and see shadowy figures that were like running by. It's freaky.
Like looking back at that was a really creepy game.
Oh yeah.
Ugh, it would just be like, I don't know, however many kids out
We'd be
in the
sitting there in the
pine
middle of the
trees.
night, and like these couple grade school kids. Oh my god!
Yeah, like did
These
we even
ghosts are
have?
gonna get us.
I don't think we even had flashlights. We just like went around looking for each other.
Mm-hmm.
That was creepy.
It was. So country can be very freaky.
I'd be remiss if I didn't tell this story. If this man is listening, he's not listening. No, it's
he might be.
But me and Ryan, I don't think you were there for this. Possibly Kevin.
If you start telling the story, I'll tell you if I was there.
We had a Grim Reaper costume, and for some reason,
Oh boy.
we had this 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign on a post. And one day, it was probably around Halloween, we were dressed up as the Grim Reaper. And I think it was either Ryan or me stood by the road holding this 30-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. And this truck goes by. And we were just like, yeah, we're kids trying to prank someone. We're the Grim Reaper holding a sign that's not usually there. But he goes by. We see the brake lights turn on. He screeches to a halt. And we're like, oh fuck, I think he's coming back. He's gonna like get us. So we drop the sign and we book it for home. This dude pulls into that little driveway at like the top of the hill going to the pine trees. He's like chasing us like across this driveway down the hill. We're like, oh fuck.
Oh my God.
We ditch everything and we book it home. He somehow loses us. Like that road ends at the top of the hill. And we get home, we're like, we're never doing that again, man. That was freaky. Like,
oh my God.
He was probably just some farmer dude. Like, I'm going to scare these kids. But, like, I don't know. We thought we were going to die or something.
I mean, he could have been an axe murderer. You never know.
It's Halloween. We don't know. Anyway, yeah.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Anyway, yeah. So,
How long ago was it?
it was like, I don't know, 15 years ago.
Oh, you're probably
we
safe.
were teens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you were safe. You're safe.
Yeah, Ryan or Kevin, please reach out if you remember doing that.
Get inquire with Kevin. We have him on the pod next time.
Yeah.
Inquiring minds want to know.
Anyway, horror games. Tis the season.
Trying to think of some other awesome games we used to play back then.
Like, yeah, I can't name really any from childhood, obviously, but
I did kind of touch on a little bit of this one too. Layers of Fear, another indie game that was really interesting. That was about like what some weird artist that like what either he murdered his family or you're trying to put together the pieces of what happened to his family. And you have to find like bits and pieces of like body parts or something.
Wasn't he like essentially going crazy throughout the whole game?
Yeah, it was like some weird trippy thing. I remember watching Markiplier play it and we're like, what the heck
he was
is
an
this?
So he was an artist, and like as he's painting through the game, his paintings get like stranger and stranger.
Yeah. And like the things he used to paint are like different pieces or body parts or blood
Yeah.
and hair. I'm like, what the heck is
bro.
this?
Are you okay?
I think I remember watching this.
Yeah.
Like the painting would get clearer through the game, or like
It would
fill
take
in
on
more.
like it would distort and turn into like something different. Like it would look almost humanoid in a way, and then all of a sudden it would just take a shift and look very alien and foreboding.
I'm
It's
wondering.
like,
I feel like it's got like Dorian Gray vibes. A picture of Dorian Gray,
yeah. Ugh.
kind of, sort of.
I see.
Because like the paint, in that story, like
It like possesses, or it takes his life spirit, or whatever.
yeah, like he doesn't age, but the painting of him does.
So like through the game, is he like becoming the painting or something?
Kind of, or just like you see how like the painting shows his. I feel like it shows his mental state.
correct.
Like,
It's a mirror.
yeah.
And all the random events that happen throughout the mansion is just weird too, like jump scares, like crazy. Like you'll go and pick up like a key item, turn around, and there's like a whole bunch of like books that turn into like a bunch of knights, and they'll just fly at you, and just pages fly everywhere. It's like, what the?
Did you guys ever play Hello Neighbor?
No.
That was the most disappointing game developing I've ever seen. It was like, you move into this new neighborhood. Your neighbor across the street is this like mysterious man with like a big curly mustache, and his house is like huge and like Willy Wonka-esque with like a roller coaster coming around it and like all this different stuff. And you have to break into his house. Well, you don't have to, but you're trying to get to the bottom of why this dude's so weird. And you find all these keys and all these like clues and what he's doing. And like, as the game got more and more developed, like it was released in alpha, so you could play it when it was unfinished. But like, as they just kept making it worse and worse and less interesting.
It's like, oh, it's a shame.
You had such a good thing going.
The potential.
You know what that makes me think of? Firewatch.
Oh,
Yes. Lost potential in a game.
Borderline horror as well.
I was just saying,
Yeah.
because that's kind of, because it is like suspenseful,
Suspense, yeah.
kind of scary. And I remember it's just like, this is it.
The letdown at the end was just
That's the
such
end.
it literally was like a thud. It was like Game of Thrones ending type of thud.
It was so good, and I was so invested.
Yeah, and what's weird is that dynamic really worked. It's just like the guy talking on a walkie-talkie to this entity, was it Delilah?
Yeah.
That you never saw throughout the game, and
Yeah.
they just had such chemistry through their talking. It was
Yeah.
interesting.
I
I
got
was like-
super into that.
But like, it could have been like a cool monster,
Right? It could've been something.
something.
It's just like, oh, there's bones of a little kid in a backpack. Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, I can appreciate the narrative of that at the end of the day as like a piece of writing, but like, damn if it isn't disappointing to
It was
play.
so
It
disappointing.
was
at the
let
end.
down. But once again, it tends to be the gamble with indie games. Sometimes
Yeah.
the stories turn out great. Sometimes they're just, very lacking.
Like, what a risk as a story writer to be like, hey, this is a cold bucket of water on you. This is
Right.
just what reality is. It's like, this isn't escapism. This is just life.
Right? Just
Yeah,
like, sorry, you're
It
disappointed.
was a bummer.
But for me, that kind of kills off your franchise because
I know,
had they
yeah.
actually capped off Firewatch with a good ending, you could have gone on from that. You could have
Yeah.
created many different ones.
Like, even with that ending, it's still one of, I don't know, my favorite games I've played.
Yeah. It was immersive,
Up until
definitely.
the ending.
Up until
I
the
guess.
very end, it was so
Yeah.
good up until the end.
Yeah, because you're basically, a park ranger or something like that in charge of looking out for fires from a watchtower.
Oh, atmosphere 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Oh,
'cause
100%.
it would get to night and you're like, what the heck?
Yeah, even
There's
with
lights.
minimal graphics. Again, like the unknown and like not being able to predict what's happening. I don't know.
Yeah,
It
good
nailed
suspense.
it. It really did.
Get your heart pumping with
Like
that stuff.
it got you scared about like a deer rustling in the leaves.
I was like, what is that? Oh my God.
Oh my god.
Oh, it's an animal.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, that was a good one. Good shout.
that
But
was
now I think we're kind of moving on to the heavy hitters here. So one of the big ones that we always kind of gather kind of annually for is usually Supermassive Games is known for very good horror genre. So from the one I want to touch on first is Until Dawn.
Oh, great game.
So good.
That game we will literally gather together and replay again and again. That, the Quarry, its sequel, really the true sequel to that, and then the spin-off multi-horror video game series, which I think is revolutionary, is Dark Pictures Anthology.
It's ambitious.
Yeah.
To say the least.
Very
Yeah.
ambitious. And like I said, I kind of enjoy Until Dawn and the Quarry story more than anything Dark Pictures has done.
Yeah.
I liked Little Hope.
Little Hope, the second
Dark
game in Dark
Pictures.
Pictures, was really good.
I thought that was well done.
It,
But I
does,
think-
it stands alone the strongest,
Yeah.
I think.
But I kind of agree with Jeremy. I kind of thought the third game, House of Ashes, kind of jumped the shark a little bit. It was kind of like, okay.
They should have done. They
a little
should
over
have.
the top, guys.
They should have picked with one or stayed with one storyline.
Correct.
Exactly.
And they're just like, well, no, you think it's this, and here's an even more twist, and we're going to twist on that twist and make another twist.
Well, because at first they thought, okay, you thought it was these Sumerian. So
It takes place in ancient Sumeria at the very beginning, and then it's about these ancient alien figures or something like that. You don't know what the heck's going on, and
Yeah, like mythical creatures from
Yeah.
Iraq, Afghanistan sort of area, modern day.
setting the mood.
yeah,
it's great.
That's so cool and historical on its own. That's the game.
they should have left it with that.
Exactly.
And then it's like, oh, then you find out it was aliens.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, aliens link through time and they can't ever die. And it's
Well,
like, what is happening, man?
They referenced the Anunnaki and a whole bunch of alien foreboding races, and then they found out apparently they were invaded by other aliens that were vampires, and now you got alien vampires running around, and you're like, what?
It feels like, I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but if someone's playing a game next to you and it looks way more interesting, that's what the ending of that game felt like.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they were playing this whole other game? Why aren't we playing that?
But
Right.
I liked the alien part of it because it reminded me of H.R. Geiger with the Alien franchise, because that's one of my favorite movie franchises of all time. But it should have been a different game.
It didn't deserve to be shoehorned into the last half hour of that game.
Yes,
Exactly.
It's like, oh yeah, by the way, aliens.
And the way we played it too, we kind of killed off the main character,
Well,
Ashley Tisdale.
I did that. I
Yeah, because
killed
you
her.
played as Ashley's part.
Yes, I did.
She went by different. Was it Rachel? She went by a different
forget.
name in that game.
Yeah, I killed her. I didn't.
Yeah, because they gave you multiple chances. I was I think you're supposed to take that.
Well,
lie
but in
into
the
addition.
one of them, it's I forget one of the other games. You pick the choice where you think you're going to get killed, and
And
it
it
saves
kills
you.
off
Yeah,
player.
exactly. Some of them are really ambiguous like that.
Where I feel like this all started with Until Dawn originally.
Yeah, that's the best one.
Yeah, because that one you're basically a bunch of teenagers or young 20-somethings off in a cabin by
Yeah,
yourself.
Cabin in the Woods, classic.
And then, two of the friends get pranked, they run away, embarrassed, and they fall off a cliff, and basically...
It was just a prank hand.
just a prank hand. And then she basically, her and Beth go over the cliff and, we're presumably dead. And then they come back, the group of teenagers or young 20-somethings come back a year later and try to, reconvene at this cabin, and all this other stuff is going on. And
Which, going back there, only a year later.
Why would you
Why would you do that? Anyway, continue.
The signs were there.
Right.
Anyway.
But I think one of the girls who died, her brother was going through some type of psycho fit or something. Josh.
Rami Malek.
Yeah, he played by Rami Malek, and he was literally going nuts and trying to prank everybody because he still was dealing with the grief of losing his sister. And he's kind of not altogether there, so he would stage his own death and make it in almost like a mini game that you don't realize at the time. You're like, what the heck?
Even having played through the game a bunch of times, you really can't tell if it's a revenge thing or if he's just losing his mind.
mentally gone. But you play through that, and that's still, I think, because they talk about the butterfly effect of that game. They give you an option very early on, you're in a snowball fight, and you can choose to throw a snowball and hit a bird or something, thus killing them. And I think that has a butterfly effect of coming back and killing that character later on.
The scene in that game that freaked me out, I think it was toward the end, like Josh was like, I think he was hallucinating. There was like that giant pig head.
Yeah.
And then you see
That's
his
awful.
sisters, Beth and Hannah, and their skin's like falling off their face. That
it just shows like their skull and their eyes.
In that part, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah, it's weird. And there was a whole bunch of freaky stuff in that game. And yeah, lots of jump scares, like the deer. You'd be going
God,
home
the
and just
fucking
the
deer.
deer would jump out and you're like, oh, gosh.
Yeah, again, a deer in the woods is enough to scare you if your horror game is working.
So I mean, yeah, just little subtle things like that. Little jump scares like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's just like something about it gets you on edge. Like it's that feeling
what's gonna happen?
like I'm alone in the woods. That's enough to be scared.
And there's all kinds of twists and turns. And I think like the producer or something, like I think he puts himself in the game too. Like he has the flamethrower later on.
Oh, he's that guy?
Yeah, and basically, I don't know if he's the director or producer. He's somebody, and it's hilarious though because he makes an appearance with like a flamethrower. You think he's the enemy, and he's just like,
No, but he's killing the Wendigos.
Yeah, the real enemy is the Wendigo. And it's just like apparently there's like these skinwalker like creatures.
Well, don't you have to be like a cannibal to become
Yeah,
a Wendigo?
that's-
Like if you
that's
eat,
the whole deal.
You end up discovering later on that by eating somebody triggers some type of ancient ritual in this mountain, which turns a person into a skinwalker, a Wendigo.
That's all based on real stuff.
Native American
like,
lore.
It is.
Yeah, like in Canada, whatever village, there's this like cannibal outbreak.
Yep.
The Wendigo spirit.
That's where they got the
possessed them,
inspiration for it. And yeah, it's oh my gosh, and the way they move in that game is so
Freaky.
just
Yeah, it's creepy.
uncanny valley-ish.
it's unsettling.
It's just like ugh, because they're just like they twitch when they
Yeah,
move.
they're so
like,
fast.
yeah.
Well, aren't you playing like with if you're playing with the controller, like aren't there
Don't move.
where you can't move?
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
those
a-
piss me off.
It's a PlayStation exclusive, so the PlayStation controller has like a built-in vibration thing where like you'll feel the heartbeat through the controller and you're trying to keep it steady, and it says don't move.
But I'll literally like not breathe. Like I remember there are parts where
Right?
like
You're
I'm
just
like,
Ugh, I hate to move this forward, but Man of Medan.
yeah. I was going to segue into that because they kind of have similar features going from that. Because, yeah, Until Dawn came out first, then going into Dark Pictures. The first Dark Pictures was Man of Medan, which I thought was just...
I enjoyed it again up until the end because I'm like, ooh, what secret like or what monster thing? It's like no, it's gas.
Yeah,
it's fucking
a
gas.
psychological thing because of like a bunch of gas that struck this, ancient tanker truck or something, or tanker
But I'm like,
ship.
really, this whole time it could have been something so much cooler. But no,
Yeah, it's
gas.
like Firewatch. It's like the grounding in reality just like halts any of the mystique and anything that was interesting about it.
Because I did enjoy the game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, while we were playing, it was interesting, and there's all kinds of stuff to find, hints to find, and everything. And there's also those moments of just like don't move, but like it's a mini game, so you have to sit there and hit the A button, X button,
Oh yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what made me segue to it. The little heartbeat thing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking
Hit
too.
A bunch.
You're just sitting there, just like you'll hear people going crazy on the ship, and you're just like, okay, wait this out.
Yeah, and like hallucinating that your friends are monsters.
Yeah.
They're not actually. So like, I think in that game, this might have been the only game you could do it. I think you could accidentally kill the
one
other
of the
playable
players.
characters.
Oh, that's right.
And not even realize it.
Because like the like Sailor Girl or whatever, like you hallucinate that one of the girls in your party is one of them, like one of the monsters.
And there's one of the main guys, Conrad. I remember I played as him, played him flawlessly too, by the way.
did.
Saved him. Basically, he's running away from that ghost nurse lady, and I'm just like, I immediately thought at the time, I said, he's running away from one of the other allied characters right now. He's hallucinating.
I remember you calling that, yeah.
And what he climbed to the very top of like this giant smokestack. He was thinking about jumping, and it says jump or do nothing. Did nothing, and literally all of a sudden, because he's that high up, the psychedelic stuff just all went away because of the rain and the fresh air, and all of a sudden, boom! Like that monster melted away, and suddenly it was the ally. And it's like,
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of had that game pretty well debunked from the beginning. But moving on from Man of Medan, because that was, I mean, it was meh. Markiplier still refused to play that game.
The unupdated graphics and frame rate were unforgivable.
They were-
So
that was
bad.
rough when it first came out. They've cleaned up a lot now, going back and replaying it again. So it's a lot better than what it was. Because I remember it wouldn't even load up half
It was
the time.
awful, yeah.
It was chugging.
Oh
like a
yeah, I
son
remember.
of a
Yeah,
gun.
we tried and it wouldn't load.
Even
yeah.
like the opening cutscene was like,
Oh, it was like the
chunky.
water graphics
The
would
water
like
looked
freeze,
so bad.
and it would like cross over into other frames.
What
I'm
was-
like, ugh, pixelated.
What was the beginning of the game, or the one character from the quote that makes me laugh from that game?
Stay fresh, cheese bags.
No, easy on the cheese, corn dog.
Easy on the cheese corn dog. That's it.
was that the like soldiers talking to
No,
That was a Conrad line,
it
wasn't
was-
it?
Oh, really?
Easy on the cheese corn dog.
Yeah, easy on the cheese corn dog.
That's great.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe that was maybe it was the boyfriend or the fiance.
It was the fiance to his brother, to the nerdy brother.
Okay.
He said that too. Yeah.
Easy on the cheese corn dog.
Yeah.
They did have some classic one-liners in there.
I about died when I heard that one the first time.
Man of Medan.
And then Little Hope was after.
Yeah, so Man of Medan was based on like what an old World War II vessel called the Orang Medan, which went missing. I don't know if it's just like an urban legend, if it was actually true or not, but it was based off of that myth.
Like a ghost ship or
Like
something?
a ghost ship, yes. So it was basically just kind of like, they were trying to transport something, turned out to be some weird gas, and like it killed the ship.
Okay.
Everybody basically had hallucinations and had heart attacks and some crap like that. But the sequel to that one for Dark Pictures, the second game was called Little Hope, and that was based on kind of like a little bit on the Salem witch trials.
Yep.
And that game I feel like is the best so far out of the Dark Pictures.
Yeah.
Because that really captured the essence of like being in Salem, Massachusetts.
And it actually had like supernatural elements to it.
Yeah.
And you would go back in time, like there'd be this little girl that's basically just like calling out for help and grabbing people, and you'd be like shown cutscenes from the past and flipping forward to the future. It was wild.
I was like, I have a weird relationship with Little Hope. The whiplash from Man of Medan ending being so like grounded and lame. I was like, when I was playing Little Hope for the first time, I was like, all right, how is this actually all fake and dumb, and why should I believe any of this is happening? I was like, I was playing it expecting it to be like all these local theater like play actors like making this haunted town, like scaring the
Like
tourists
Scooby-Doo
out of it.
type of
Exactly.
storyline.
And then it turned out to be not that, and I was like, oh, I probably would have enjoyed this more if I just leaned into that.
And that was the thing that threw all of us off, because it starts off in the prelude, it's actually just a family of a whole bunch of people, and
It's on a bus, right?
Yeah, no. Before that, it's actually just a whole bunch of and the house burns down.
Yeah, the house
because this guy
fire.
leaves he leaves the burner on, and this little girl leaves her doll on there, and it sets the whole house on fire, and like everybody except for this guy dies, and he literally witnesses everybody just like either jumping off and getting speared on like a fence post, or like Letty getting hanged, and like everybody else is suffocating in fire and like in a fiery house, and then it jumps forward to the future, and then suddenly, there's basically all those characters again, and they're on a bus, and even going back in time after the little girl like grabs them and stuff, like the little ghost girl, they'll go back in time, and there's all their characters again in the past. So it's almost like they're in 3 different types of realities. It's weird.
It's definitely like that main character's like psychosis.
Oh wait, wasn't he the
all
bus
that.
driver?
It turns out that
The
like
bus
that's
driver.
the big twist at the end, that basically he's basically just dealing with the trauma of everything, and he was basically reliving all this stuff in different time periods. So yeah, he was the bus driver.
Yeah, kind of a common theme there with the.
But by far and away, that I did not see that ending coming.
No, I didn't.
I was just like, what the heck is going on in this? And that kept me guessing to the end. So that was probably the most well done one. Going on from Little Hope, unless you guys wanted to add anything to it.
I want to applaud the like A and B stories of Little Hope, like the Salem witch trials timeline, but also the
it
like
was phenomenal.
modern day,
It was really well done.
and like that church with the random local dude. Hey, open up!
Right.
That random guy.
You don't realize
yeah.
that was such a key moment, and you're just like, oh, who's this guy? And they like all the characters were basically like
He was just
denouncing
alone.
him.
Well, the main character, it was just him the whole time in reality.
It was, he was basically all alone. He didn't have any of his friends, and he thought he was his younger version of himself too the whole time.
But he was like, what, 40-something?
40, 50
just
something.
losing it.
And if you go back and play, you begin to see vague hints, because he'll go into like a tavern, and he's like, yeah, me and my friends here are looking for a drink, and the bartender looks around like what the fuck are you talking about? So there's subtle hints they drop about that all throughout the game.
Yeah, quality game.
Yeah, I thought it was great. Moving on from that one to, we touched on that a little bit, House of Ashes.
Yeah, we kind of already talked about House of Ashes.
Yeah, where it takes place in the desert, or like over in Afghanistan somewhere, right?
Yeah.
During the early...
It was during the Iraq War, wasn't it?
Yeah, 2003, 2008, somewhere in that ballpark. But that was interesting, because, the prelude of that's about, like, Sumerians and Anunnaki and stuff like that.
And then the one after that we still haven't played is Devil in Me.
Devil in Me. Yeah, we still have not played it. And then there's another game coming out, I believe, in October 2024. It's called, Directive 8020.
Which I'm excited about because it
looks like
sci-fi.
Alien.
It looks pretty cool.
They should have put the alien plot line in House of Ashes in.
Right? Would have gone way better.
If only. Hey, maybe they'll all be linked together.
It'll all be
Who
linked
knows?
together. That's where the aliens came from.
Perfect.
That would be something if they tied every single game in together, some way, shape, or form. That would be next level, but I doubt that's the case.
I think it's ambitious enough to commit to 8 games already.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy for anyone.
How many? When that one comes out, the
Directive
85.
80/20.
yeah. How many? So how many? That'll be 5.
It'll be 5. So they're planning on having 8 altogether in this chronology or whatever you want to call it. So it's basically an anthology. So
Interesting.
horror picture anthology. I like the ambition. I like
do
the
too.
idea, and I'm definitely on board with supporting all of this. I think it's great.
I give them a little more leeway on
Yes.
like graphical fidelity and
Yeah.
different stuff just because of that.
Because they're doing so many.
Like they're churning these things out.
They are.
like
Well, that's why
nobody's business.
they actually packed the first 4 and call it a season. So they kind of took like a bit of a 2-year break. Although they do that VR game that we just saw too.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of that.
Nor have
That
I.
looks cool.
I wish
For the
we had a
PlayStation?
VR thing well, we don't have a PS5. I wish.
Yeah. But that looks really interesting. It's like you're based on like what little mine cart going through like haunted house type things. And it's
would
kind of
totally
dark
play that.
pictures. I thought that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So-
It looked like it had elements from like the different games that have come out already,
Mm-hmm.
or at least like season 1, as they called it. It looked pretty cool.
Yep. And then touching on Quarry just a little bit, because I feel like that's the true spiritual successor to Until Dawn.
Yeah.
And way better than any of the dark pictures, I feel like, too. Because it feels like a AAA title game. It actually feels like the depth of it, and the length of it. And it kind of touches on a little bit of like camping horror story, kind of like the whole Jason Voorhees genre
Yeah.
of Camp Crystal Lake.
That's what made me think
It
of.
felt like that.
I think I've only watched like an episode or 2 of someone playing the Quarry. I still haven't played the Quarry.
The
I've
Quarry's
heard it's
good.
excellent.
One thing I've noticed too, because if you play on like an easier difficulty, they give you multiple lives, so you can go
Oh.
back. Like if if you accidentally kill off a character through a
yeah, that's
cutscene,
right.
you can say, "Would you like to use a life?" and basically bring them back and rewind back to a certain point before you made that decision.
Huh.
Which I think is kind of a cool feature.
That's cool on easy mode. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing through Dark Pictures, how many of our characters we killed off? Man of Medan, we were unscathed.
Oh yeah. Nobody
yeah.
died.
We went through the first time, we saved everybody.
We killed no one in Man of Medan.
I tried going back and replaying with Conrad and tried to jump in the fisherman's boat when they tried to like hijack everybody. Got killed. Like literally, he shoots you and Conrad's just like, ugh, hanging on the side of the boat with a bullet hole. And then Pip Torrens, Mr. Cake is basically waiting for you. He's like ready to chastise you.
Have we ever had a game where we killed everybody?
No,
I don't think so.
I don't think.
I killed off the old lady. I think in Little Hope in our playthrough.
And
Oh yeah, you did.
Because we
yes.
didn't like throw her a line or something like that when like these like evil creatures were like crawling at her or something from the river.
Yeah. I
Didn't
remember
we
that.
restart
Damn
it
it.
because I didn't want her to die?
Yeah, I think
I
we
think
did.
we went back. I'm like, no.
Restart the chapter.
I don't think we're supposed to save her here. Oh damn, we were supposed to save her here.
Well, again, some of those decisions are so like I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a fine line.
So I mean, you don't know if it's like a life or death decision or if it's just like a simple, okay, just go right or left on the path decision.
I think I killed Mike our first time playing Until Dawn.
Until
with the
Dawn.
gas.
That sounds right.
Was it Mike? I forget his name. I think it was Mike. But like the main dude.
I thought we ended up killing Matt too with like the whole because like him
Oh,
and
I was playing
Emily
Matt.
are
What am I
on a
saying?
fire tower and they like fall down like a huge ravine or something.
Yeah.
Oh,
into that cave.
wait, Emily.
Yeah, I thought we killed one of them.
I didn't like her. I wouldn't have cared if we didn't save her.
Just a prank hand. They're all based on real actors. I think everybody's based on real actors, aren't they? Like they actually do motion capture
Yeah.
performance
based
for
on
all
their
this?
voice actors.
Yeah.
Well, then in House of Ashes, I killed. What was the actress?
You killed Ashley Tisdale.
Yeah.
I did.
You did.
Oh.
Ashley's. It's not very Ashley friendly of you.
There can only be one.
Yep. So there'll be one Ashley.
Only one.
Deliberate. I'm better than you.
Yeah.
Well, I remember like the key scene in that was I played as I think it was her boyfriend, and she's dangling on an edge or dangling off a ledge, and I think you have the choice of like cutting the rope. And believe it or not, you're supposed to do that to
Oh,
save
yeah.
her. Because I think if you don't, like I think we ended up going back and looking at like a little video of this thing. If you don't cut the rope cuts anyway, and she still ends up falling in the ravine either which way.
Yeah.
But I think my character would have died had I not cut the rope, is how that worked.
Okay, yeah, she's Rachel. Jason's the like main military dude.
Mm-hmm.
Salim, Eric, and
I think I played as Eric, fitting enough.
Oh yeah.
Limor.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wait, Nicholas K. I don't know what this is.
Isn't there an Ashley character in Until Dawn?
Yes,
yeah.
there is. That's the one Markiplier was like, no,
Oh yeah,
no.
he literally restarted the entire game to
Just to
save
save
her.
her. I'm going to make sure that Ashley and Chris end up together. Blah, 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 blah. And he was going this freaking tirade. It was so funny.
Her name's Ashley Brown. That's crazy.
In
What?
the game?
In the game.
What?
Hold up, I'm looking this up.
In which game?
Until Dawn.
No way.
Ashley character.
If her name is legit, if her last name's Brown, I'm gonna.
Ashley Ash Brown is one of the 8
Oh
main
my
No fucking
God.
way.
That's crazy.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
That's even more freaky.
Holy shit!
Oh my God. It's real. Don't go to a cabin in the woods.
Right?
Wow.
Freaky. I
had
did not
no
know
idea.
that.
I didn't need it till now. I just
See,
Googled
learn
it.
something new on the pod every day.
Wow.
So, oh my gosh.
That's crazy.
That is.
That
freaky.
is. That's freaky.
I don't know where to go from there.
Well,
I'm a famous video game character.
It is spooky season, so
you were great in that game.
Thank you.
I have
Thank
to
you very
say.
much.
fantastic. Good performance. Well done. What's it? Handling the Wendigos out there.
Yeah, good job. Yeah, that's so good. Like,
Well, her death scene was pretty bad. Remember?
Oh, with
because
Markiplier? 'Cause
Well, if you choose to open, because you hear that knocking in the cave, and if you open the door, the Wendigo like
Comes out
cuts her
like
head off.
get you.
like rips the head off of her
Yeah.
or something. Like, oh my god,
Eats
it's
ya.
wild. And then like what? At the very end of that game, they have like an interrogation scene where like all the people are interviewing them. Mm-hmm. So if you saved everybody gets interviewed, and if you don't, then it's basically just like what, just an empty chair or something.
or just like only one or two characters or something.
It's such a good like post credit thing.
It is.
Yeah, it preserved the flavor of the game.
It did
I kind of like
So
the
good.
little narrator, like, side things, like in between, like different cut scenes and different sections or chapters of the story.
It's a very unique,
Yeah,
like
group of
like Hitchcock Presents.
yes,
sort
Yes.
of thing.
Hitchcock is what I thought
It's so good. You never see that.
because Peter Stormare, I think, was like the psychiatrist in the first game, where literally he's just like, choose between these two images, and he just felt completely unregulated, unsettled the entire time, just like unhinged.
It's like you get like a little breather for. It's like a little commercial break.
See, but I like in the other games
Pip Torrens,
Torrens character that
yeah. As Jacksepticeye calls him, Mr. Cake,
but what's he called?
Mr. Beard. I don't know. I'll
The
look it up.
curator
the
curator,
curator.
that's
I'm
right.
the curator of stories. He does an
and his
awesome job.
repository,
Yep.
as he said.
The curator, Dark Pictures. Yeah, dude with the slick backed hair.
Yeah.
I don't know why in my head I thought he had a beard. He does not have a beard.
And then I think it's a lady in the quarry, isn't it?
Oh, the fortune teller lady.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a whole different type of thing in the quarry. So you have to basically, choose your fortune.
Man.
I have to play that. Like,
Yeah, quarry's
this is
good.
the year I play that.
I want to replay Until Dawn now that I know that she has the
The
same
name
name
Ashley
as
Brown.
me. The exact,
Well, they're coming out with a remaster this year too, I think, for the PlayStation
Yeah,
5. It
now's
looks
the time.
good.
we might have to get a PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm. I'd be down.
Or borrow one.
All right.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think of a horror game or series of games that have been as impactful as those lately, and like
Those things are like iconic with
Kind
us
of
because
been
we'll get together during October and like really play through a lot of them.
well, I guess like Resident Evil are like the main ones.
Oh,
now.
the newer
The
Resident
newer
Evil.
Resident Evils are interesting.
Resident Evil 7, is it Biohazard?
Yeah.
That's a good game. That
Yeah,
is a
because
great
that's
game.
more first person. Because I think it started like the original Resident Evil was third person, wasn't it? And then I think the more modern ones are first person.
Yeah.
But that one had definitely a different feel than the
Oh,
rest
yeah.
of the Resident Evil games.
Yeah. And then the most recent one was the big vampire lady.
Lady Dimitrescu,
Limit Dimitrescu.
Yeah.
9 foot tall vampire queen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Pay your respects.
Everybody's fangirling over her on the
I
internet.
wish I could be her. Or at least I looked like her.
Sorry, I can't be 9 feet tall. It's so good.
But yeah, the modern Resident Evils are fun to play through.
Yeah.
But that one, I think it was Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, right? That's the one where like
You're literally like in the middle of a swamp.
but your main character is basically trying to go find his girlfriend who just up and like left him, and she's like involved with this weird family.
That's
that
just
are-
how those games go.
I'm just like, what the heck?
Is that the one with the... You literally get your hand cut off and he like the
Goop juice.
goop juice, you just pour it on your hand like... blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Get the herb. The goop.
yeah. You just
herb.
you get an herb and something else to form the goop juice, and basically that's a Markiplier
Yeah, who
dubbed
cares
it.
if you get your arm cut off? Here's some gunk to put on it.
Dump it on. Neosporin.
That was a weird series.
Patch it right up.
Oh,
Going from that, and finally we're touching on this one too, is the one game we stumbled across. And watch Markiplier play. Once again, Markiplier kind of like plays all these games. We see it and we're like, oh, let's go out and try it. Is Phasmophobia. Mm-hmm. That game is a whole different level of horror genre. Because that thing, oh my God, yeah, you're literally...
That's fully immersive.
It is, because you have to wear high-end, or at least gaming headsets, you have microphones, you're talking with your buddies, and you actually have a walkie-talkie feature. Like, you hit the B button and you can talk, and it sounds like you're talking to a walkie-talkie across the house, and all of a sudden, like, the lights could all kick off, and, like, a ghost is going into, like, a hunt mode. You'll just hear, like, and all kinds of crazy things going on. You're like, oh my God!
It's like, well, this most recent update has made it really like a solid game in my opinion, but it had a little bit of jankiness before that, I think. Like some of the glitchiness and the inconsistencies of the ghosts. And sometimes it would be literally like unwinnable because of a glitch. And, like,
Right.
That's annoying.
It's just like, okay, it was cold temperature, because there's like different... It's process of elimination, right? You're trying to figure out these different clues. It's 3 clues that'll give away what the ghost is. And if it's cold temperatures, which we always try to find first for some whatever reason. So I feel like that's a pretty good indicator. Used to be anyway. I don't know if that's the case anymore.
Yeah, but it's such a like, as a kid, what you thought ghost hunting with your friends was actually like. Like you get all your different gear and like go essentially make like a ghost hunting show. Like it scratches that itch so perfectly.
Oh yeah.
So much fun.
It is a lot of fun. And like I said, just so immersive. Oh my gosh.
And can't the ghost like talk to you? Like you can hear the ghost talking to you in the game.
And then like if it ends up getting your character, you'll just hear your friends like, they got me here. It'll just cut the mic. And you're just like, oh, well, and they're dead.
A cool mechanic is you can talk to the ghost. Like you can say their name or like ask them questions through the spirit box.
Because inside this
really
little van that has all your equipment and everything, on the board it shows like, you know, the ghost name is just like Angela whatever.
Yeah, if it's known,
And basically some ghosts like get pissed off. You keep saying their name so much. So it's just like Angela, Angela, Angela. All of a sudden all the lights turn off, doors lock in the front, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Pissed off
And then
Angela.
you're just running and trying to find like a little place to hide. You're like, oh, don't get me.
Like playing that game just like me on the couch in my apartment with the lights off is like, it's so creepy.
It is. You're by yourself. You're like it's a whole different game when you're by yourself. Like it's almost unplayable.
Oh, with friends, it's like
with friends it's
fun,
a ball.
But like by yourself,
you just hear your friends like, "Oh, got me, guys!" Oh.
Yeah, at least there's like the comedy element to it, but
and the hilarious like I don't know if they fixed it or not. Just like the hilarious dying element where it's just like, oh, they got Sean. You'll just hear.
I think it's still there. The funny part is the ragdoll of their body when
they just flop over
and like the most ridiculous like cutting through a door pose.
Yeah,
half of them is in the wall.
I was gonna say they have an arm hanging out from the front of the door and like they get stuck in a plant. Like just the whole immersive factor of everything in that game and just talking to ghosts and the ghosts reaction to you and scawing you and the whole
like
smudge sticks.
It's pretty simple, like the different parts of that game. Like, you're just in these regular ass houses, like,
right?
Just using these, I don't know, different tools to find ghosts. Like it's so like you can learn the game pretty quick and then have a lot of fun with it. It's
the newest or the more recent updates, they made it so that way everything's in a tier list now because like the notebook is just like a little notepad of paper and a pencil, and now like the more upgraded ones, like you get to like level 35 or something, you get this big old book.
Yeah.
And it gets more effective equipment, which I think is kind of interesting.
Another game that released in alpha and like found a lot of success through people paying for it in alpha.
Just keeps getting better and better.
Yeah. Yeah, every update's been even better. The little clubhouse, you can play bowling and shoot hoops.
Toss across and stuff.
A lot of fun.
Or cornhole. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that keeps getting better and better.
I'm looking forward to finally playing that one again. Gotta get my computer back first.
Yeah.
So. Dude, Sean and I were playing Lethal Company. It was a lot of fun. That game was like super hot a couple months ago, or maybe before that, but that's when we got into it.
Any new horror games we should be aware of that we could all play together?
Haven't been following super recently.
Yeah.
I weirdly I watch Smosh videos. Cringe if you must. But like they played through all the Five Nights at Freddy's games recently, and it's so interesting to look back at those and like. The first Five Nights at Freddy's is such an effective, like, classic, literally genre-creating game.
Oh, yeah.
It's really cool. Like, you're just stuck alone in this room. Like, it invented the, like, security camera horror genre, like, Observation Duty, if you guys have played that. Super fun. Like, I don't know. It just, like, inspired that, I feel like. It's pretty cool.
But I think you touched on this, too, where I feel like indie games are really the future of a lot of gaming, especially in the horror genre, especially.
Oh, yeah.
I used to think just horror indie games were where the best games came from, But now it's just indie games in general. Like AAA games are trash lately.
Yeah.
I am not afraid to say
They're trying
that.
to rush products to market a lot,
Yeah.
more times than not. And once again, it kind of limits creative freedom.
It's like execs want guaranteed money, which means the most vanilla, boring game possible.
Yep.
Like nothing risky.
Do what's sold before. Keep doing that.
It's
'Cause
like
it generates profit.
tale as old as time. Executives don't understand what people like about art, so they try to make it a business.
Well, the one game I think it's an indie game, is Stray.
Oh, so good.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, it's not.
That's definitely got a horror element to it.
It is. I mean, it's definitely like dystopian.
Disastrous, yeah.
But that's one of my new favorite games ever. I love that game.
The graphics
So
are
good.
beautiful. I think the creative team was made it in France, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
So they're based in France.
Annapurna? Or no, Annapurna's the publisher. I forget who made it. It's released by them, though. Annapurna, like...
I follow them on Instagram.
So good. Like,
Yeah, I follow them on Instagram.
only bangers.
But beautiful visuals of that game, though. Oh my gosh!
But there are definitely, like, it is scary. I mean, because you're
running away from all these
the
looking
Zerks
things.
that are trying to eat you, and
You basically play as a cat with like a little robot friend that helps you open doors and figure out puzzles.
but it's like, I mean, I love like sci-fi robot type things. It's like,
yeah.
and it's got a cat. I
yeah,
mean,
it's
come
like
on.
Blade Runner with a cat type deal.
It's all
Basically.
good things.
It is a very interesting game, and you blasted through that game.
Oh, I've
pretty
played it
darn
like
fast.
3 or 4 times already.
Very immersive. I hope they come with a sequel. They really should.
Oh, that's all I will do if they come out with a sequel.
I keep on saying the same thing with BioShock, but I know they kind of went defunct. I think after they
Yeah.
tried to downsize, and I guess they ended up having to declare bankruptcy because
None
they
of the
tried to do it too
sequels were
quick. Yeah.
Great. Infinite was good.
I liked Infinite. I thought it was an interesting twist at the end. That one literally blew my mind. Like, oh my gosh, you're playing as basically the antagonist the whole time too. I'm like, holy smokes!
I remember, like, whatever philosophy of BioShock Infinite, like, blew my 16-year-old mind or whatever. I was like, whoa, it's so deep. Everything's connected, bro.
Always a lighthouse, always a girl. It's just like what
It's all a loop, man.
there's always so many lighthouses.
Yeah. I'll never beat the first one.
The second one, don't even bother.
Yeah.
Ugh, don't even talk about that one.
It was weird.
God, so many good horror games out there.
Another indie game I'd like to touch on, at least. This is one of those games I was like upstairs doing so many different Google search terms, being like Arctic base, car crash, multiple mini games, horror PC, and then I finally found it. It's called Stories Untold. It's like an anthology. Like,
Wait a minute,
Have you seen
swear
some of
I've
these?
heard of this one or this game.
Stories Untold.
it's like pretty successful, I feel like. But it's like an anthology, like Dark Pictures.
Really?
Yeah.
There's like all these different mini games.
Stories Untold.
Yeah.
Kind of has the font of Stranger Things. It looks like.
I only remember the chapter that was on like an Arctic base, and you had to like solve some like military like missile crisis or something like that, and the atmosphere was like perfectly captured. And then I remember another chapter about like some family, and there's like a car crash, and you're like trying to get to the bottom of it, and it's like you're hearing all these like voice clips and stuff, and it's so well produced and like a beautiful game.
Interesting.
Yeah, I highly recommend. I forget the other parts of that anthology. I think there's like a hospital one that I'm struggling to remember. I just remember loving watching those. It's really cool.
I'm going down a list of like different video games that are considered horror. They put Mortal Kombat on here. I don't really think Mortal Kombat's horror.
I mean, kind of. I mean, it's gory.
It's violent.
I guess, yeah.
No doubt about that. But there's one I ran across. What the heck was it?
Excuse me.
They got Silent Hill, Diablo.
I
Yeah.
don't know if I'd call
Kinda.
it horror.
The third one, I don't know. It doesn't feel like that scary. Like, it definitely doesn't.
Again, it's more gore. I mean, there's demons, but like,
Yeah.
Oh, Resident Evil Village is Lady Dimitrescu.
that's right.
There's The Last of Us, which I've never played.
Oh, I forgot about one. Fatal Frame.
Yeah, Fatal Frame is an interesting one. That's the one about like what girl is able to like what capture spirits and taking photos of them.
Doesn't it take place in Japan?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Freaky.
I've seen this. Yeah.
Because isn't that like a thing in Japan, or like it used to be, like if people are afraid to get their pictures taken because it
like-
supposedly steals your soul.
Yeah.
exactly.
I've ran into a few people like that actually believe in that thing. Back when I worked for Shutterfly for a while, you go up and talk to some kids. It's just like, I don't like when people take photos because it steals your soul. I'm like,
Okay.
the heck are you
Okay.
talking about, dude?
But yeah, Fatal
Just
Frame
taking a
was
picture.
kind of freaky.
There's Alien Isolation. We haven't touched on either.
I played a demo of that, And that is freaky.
It looks like a cool game.
Yeah. I watched a playthrough of that. The atmosphere is so good.
It is. Even the atmosphere in those movies, too, are just perfect.
Oh, man. First Alien.
Ever played Little Nightmares?
No.
What was that one? You play as like, no, you have like a little teddy bear assistant or something like that, and you're running around collecting like little kid pieces of things. What the heck was that game?
Oh my god,
called?
what is that called?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes, I do.
That one was trippy as all get out.
Aren't you playing essentially as a baby?
As a baby. You're playing as an infant, and like your parents are getting into fights in the cutscene, and like the camera distorts and stuff like that when they're getting into an argument, trying to piece together like some type of argument that's going on with your parents.
I'm getting on the
Look at a horror game where you play as a baby.
It's like Little Something, isn't it?
Not Little Wonders.
Horror
no.
gameplay as baby. Among the Sleep.
Yes.
Yes.
That's it.
Among the Sleep.
Been a while since we played that one. That was freaky as crap.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you're in the crib. Yes, I remember this. I remember this.
Among the Sleep.
Your little babby.
One game we haven't talked about, too, which I think is interesting, you play as like some type of reporter. Outlast.
Oh God!
I definitely
Outlast.
watched that.
Yeah. Outlast was freak when it first came out. I'm like, what the heck? Because you're basically going into like what? You're breaking in to some type of like insane ward.
Is it like some sort of prison for the criminally insane or something like that?
And basically you have to run around and like hide in lockers and record things with your camera. And you got like night vision with only a select amount of battery
and
life.
you have to like hide.
Yeah. And it's like very dark and dim and you're walking around everywhere. It is. Ugh,
Yeah, that game actually legit scared me.
Okay, sorry. I was on the Google search terms again.
Mm-hmm.
The game I was going to mention is called I'm on Observation Duty. And it's like it's like this weird sort of like you're not sure if it's reality or not that you're looking at, but you're managing these security cameras for like I think the first game's like an apartment or something, like an apartment building, and you change cameras so you can only look at one at a time, and you detect things that change. It's like a hidden object game as you switch between the cameras, like things that phase in and out of reality or like grow and shrink slowly, and it's all like black and white, and
weird.
There's no music. It's really, really creepy. And like, there's
Sounds
certain
creepy.
like, every now and again, there's like humanoid creatures that appear and they'll like slowly approach the cameras. And if you don't switch through the cameras quick enough to like find them, they like come and attack the camera and it all goes yellow. And it's like, too many anomalies reported. You're fired or whatever. Those are really fun. That's a fun genre.
That's one thing that's always scared you, Ashley, is mannequins in games.
Ugh. Silent Hill 2. Ugh.
Yeah, you got mannequins in that one?
Yes.
I remember, like, Sega, of all people, made a horror game, I think at one point, called Condemned. That one had a bunch of mannequin scenes in there, too. That was kind of freaky.
Well, the mannequin scene in Silent Hill 2, and I've already told this story in one of the other episodes, but, like, scared the crap out of me. Like, literally, you were in this room with all these mannequins, and you turn around, and one would be in a different position. And it was just...
Classic now, but like at the time, it was like, whoa, oh my
what is
God.
going on?
I hate the trope of like, you go through a room of mannequins and you turn around and they're all looking at you.
See, I always thought an interesting game, kind of touching on a little bit of Shivers, kind of like, trapped in a museum type of thing. Can you imagine that as a modern day horror game? And like,
That'd be
mannequins
awesome.
turning and looking at you while you're like a security guard, like looking around.
Dude, as someone with literal life
experience in that, because you've been that person.
Yeah, being
Do you feel like paranormal stuff goes on, or did your mind play tricks on you when you're going through all those places?
again, what's the difference? Like, if your mind sees or hears something out of the corner of your eye, like, I don't know, maybe it was there, maybe it wasn't, but you still felt it.
Right.
Like, I feel like there's such a good horror game waiting to be made
With
of
that
that
type of
exact
element?
experience.
Yes.
Yes.
You're a night guard at a museum, and like
You're just wandering around.
little subtle things are moving and shifting, and
There'd
like
be so many different sections. So you could have like an Egyptian section. You could have like a medieval section.
and like the lights are off, and you have a little flashlight. Like
That could be-
maybe this game might already exist, but like
Yeah.
it'd be
That'd
so
be
cool.
so
That'd be
good.
cool.
Night at the museum type of stuff.
Yeah.
Not like the movie, but like an actual video game, immersive video horror video game.
No gum gum for dum dum.
Yeah, none of that, comedy
Throw
nonsense.
the bone.
But like no jump scares all over the place.
Maybe like
Lights cut off randomly, and you're just like trying to like run your way back to the security room.
not like monster jump scares, but like like lights flicking on and off, or like an alarm blaring,
Yeah.
and like nothing actually moved.
And there's like different elements that are happening too. Like people have actually broken in. You don't know about it.
Yeah.
But you're like, there's some type of paranormal stuff going on at the same time.
Dang, yeah.
So it's like multiple twists and turns.
It's waiting to be made.
The potential is there for that type of game.
Any game developers out there, please.
Yeah.
Oh my
that
gosh.
one's for free. Please.
Man, that would be so good.
I'm going to look it up, actually.
Yeah. Well, that type of element too would be good inside of just like a mansion. So, and I'm sure they've already got those type of games. I mean, we kind of have that with Devil in Me, which we have not played yet.
Well, Layers of Fear took place in a mansion.
Kind of sort of like that, yeah. Layers of Fear was good. I'm still thinking back to Frambo. Oh my gosh. I swear I'm having flashbacks. That game was just so
it was
up.
Equally parts like scary and unsettling.
Oh, unsettling is the word. Oh my God. Like literally like she would pop that medication or take her medication, like everything would just go like freaking sideways and like, what the? Yeah, messed up games. Woohoo!
I can't tell what this is. I'm looking at a game called Night Watchman. Oh wait, Playtime 10. No, this is like a board game. Dang. Dude, I don't think it exists. Like,
that's what I mean.
Future game devs, please.
I'm trying to rack my brain if there's actually one like that. Because like I said, Shivers was kind of like that. You're going around a mystical museum.
Yeah,
and like,
sort of, yeah.
Like a horror element, but like, oh my gosh, you imagine that with like modern technology in a game.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Or like a huge museum, like at the Met or something. Like there's all these different wings, and like you can't keep track
subtle
of all
noise,
of it.
jump scares and stuff like that. You hear just like a random crash, a thunder noise, or something like that.
There you go.
Going off.
Okay, that actually kind of made me
right.
a little bit.
Yeah, just set the ambiance for it. It's like, oh,
I wasn't expecting it.
It's there. It's so good.
Yeah, someday.
Someday it'll happen.
Maybe one of us will make a life change and become a game developer.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna make a total career change.
Give it all up.
Get into game development.
God, I'm already psyched for a game that doesn't exist. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Someday.
Oh my gosh.
Cool. Yeah, I know there's so many more games that I've watched and played.
I did think of I know, going way back to like toward the beginning, like we were talking when I was talking about Tomb Raider, in the newer Tomb Raider games,
where it's more survival based.
But like there's a scene in like the first one where like you're literally like in a lake of blood. And there's just like you literally have it's really gross. Like you literally have to like crawl through dead bodies and body parts and skulls, and
that's fun.
It's like, this is not what I was
very
expecting.
Metal.
Damn.
That is very metal.
All the parents that bought their kids the game are like, well,
what the hell is this?
Maybe this is a little too much for little Timmy.
Maybe in a couple of years, kiddo.
But that part I was not expecting that, because I mean that I'm like that's
oof, yeah. That's worth the M rating or something.
Yeah, for sure.
E10 plus.
Going back to the original Halos too, that's why Halo was rated M for mature, because they had kind of like that really dark element to it. And the more modern Halos, I think it was Halo 4 rated T for teen.
Is it really?
Yes. If you go back and look up the rating system. And meanwhile, Elder Scrolls flip-flopped. They used to be rated T for teen in Oblivion, which there's still some copies out there that still say that. But they had to flip because of mods. Like they would be very mature, so they had to flip. That's why I think Skyrim is rated M for mature, just right off the gate.
That makes sense. Dang, Halo 4 is rated T.
Yeah,
that's
right?
That's a big red flag.
Here's your sign.
Here's your sign.
But yeah, going back to the flood. Yeah, that was.
It's done so well.
It is.
Yeah.
It has a whole different twist. Like I said, the twist to the games.
I feel like there's another game like that we haven't touched on.
We'll bring on more friends and have like another session of this type of Halloween scary video game special again. Because trust me, there's more games out there. There's tons of horror games, which is great.
Yeah, if I sit down and think about it, I'll come back with so many more.
It'll be at 2 a.m. Oh, I forgot.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we'll reminisce. So, but I don't know. Do you guys want to wrap it up here then?
Cool. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a good one. I think it's been a fantastic episode.
Yeah, fun to talk about all this.
Yeah. Good horror genre. So now it's got me amped to play the game. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time on It All Depends on the Situation. Have a good one.
Ooh, goodbye. Ooh.
Now a ghost will follow you home. It All Depends on the Situation was recorded in front of a live studio audience.